Line 7 northbound, approaching 42nd Street Station. Arrival time 8:47 a.m. exactly, Sarah Mitchell announced over the intercom as her subway train glided smoothly into the platform, the precision of her timing impressing the Metro Transit Authority supervisors who had been monitoring her performance for 6 months of perfect on-time arrivals. Doors opening, please stand clear, she continued with the calm professionalism that had made her the most reliable train operator in the entire metropolitan system, her systematic approach to schedule management and crisis response seeming to operate on a level of precision that went far beyond typical transit training. What the commuters hurrying onto her train and the supervisors reviewing her exceptional performance records didn't know was that the woman guiding thousands of passengers safely through underground tunnels every day was Captain Sarah Mitchell, retired, U.S. Air Force F-16 Fighting Falcon pilot, who had spent 12 years flying precision combat missions at speeds exceeding 1,500 miles per hour before choosing public transportation as her way to serve her community with the same accuracy, reliability, and systematic excellence she had once brought to military aviation operations. Sarah Mitchell, 37 years old, had been working as a train operator for Metro Transit Authority Line 7 in New York City for 18 months and 12 days, maintaining the same methodical attention to precision timing and systematic safety protocols that had characterized her 12-year career as an Air Force F-16 fighter pilot conducting combat and training missions. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., she arrived wearing the standard Metro uniform, carrying route schedules and safety documentation that she reviewed with pilot-level thoroughness developed during years of pre-flight planning and mission preparation. The Metro system and regular commuters knew Sarah as the train operator who never experienced delays, who somehow navigated the complex subway network with timing precision that made other operators seem unpredictable by comparison, and who had earned recognition for safety performance that exceeded every metric used by the transit authority. She had transformed Line 7 from one of the system's most unreliable routes into its most punctual and efficient operation. What people didn't notice was Sarah's automatic systems monitoring as she operated the train, the way she anticipated traffic control signals and station requirements, the way she organized her operational procedures with aviation-level precision that went beyond typical transit training. Her approach to subway operation was systematic and technically sophisticated in ways that suggested training beyond normal transportation education. Sarah had chosen subway operation specifically because it allowed her to use navigation and precision skills to serve her community in straightforward, peaceful contexts. After 12 years of Air Force flying that had required her to navigate complex airspace while conducting missions where navigation errors could compromise operations and endanger lives. Her Air Force career had begun in 2009 when she was accepted into pilot training immediately after completing aerospace engineering studies at the Air Force Academy. The combination of academic excellence, physical fitness evaluations, and psychological assessments had made her an ideal candidate for fighter pilot training during a period when the Air Force was expanding combat aviation capabilities. Sarah's pilot training had been extensive and demanding. Nearly 3 years of intensive instruction that included everything from basic flight training to advanced combat aviation, weapon systems operation, and tactical flight procedures designed for air-to-air and air-to-ground combat missions. She had demonstrated exceptional flying abilities and tactical judgment that had led to her assignment to F-16 Fighting Falcon squadrons. Sarah's assignments had included combat deployments to Afghanistan, Iraq, and classified locations where she had conducted precision strike missions, air superiority operations, and close air support missions that required split-second decision-making and navigation precision under extreme conditions. She had earned recognition for flying excellence and mission success that had contributed to successful operations and protected ground forces. Over multiple operational deployments, Sarah had flown more than 150 combat missions, earning commendations for aviation excellence and tactical leadership. But the psychological pressure of years spent in high-stress flying operations, constantly managing life-and-death decisions while operating complex aircraft systems, had eventually become overwhelming. When Sarah completed her military service, she had been offered positions with commercial airlines, aerospace contractors, and private aviation companies that would have used her pilot expertise in lucrative flying roles. But after years of high-stress aviation work, Sarah had chosen public transportation because it allowed her to use navigation and precision skills to help people while remaining safely on the ground. New York City's metro system served more than 5 million daily passengers traveling throughout the metropolitan area on a network of subway lines that required precise timing, safety protocols, and navigation skills for efficient operation. Sarah's Line 7 route connected multiple boroughs and served diverse communities who depended on reliable public transportation. During her 18 months with Metro Transit, Sarah had developed comprehensive knowledge of the subway system that impressed supervisors and fellow operators with its accuracy and practical utility for improving transportation efficiency. "Sarah," said Line 7 supervisor Mike Rodriguez during one of their regular performance reviews, "your on-time performance and safety metrics are exceptional. You seem to anticipate system delays and traffic control issues before they become problems." Mr. Rodriguez, "Reliable transportation is important to me. When people depend on public transit to get to work and appointments, schedule accuracy affects their entire day." What Rodriguez didn't realize was that Sarah's approach to subway operation was based on aviation principles she had learned for flying precision missions: systematic planning, continuous monitoring, and adaptive response procedures that had been developed for much more complex and dangerous navigation challenges. The situation that would reveal Sarah's background began in March when Metro Transit Authority officials noticed that Line 7 had achieved performance statistics that seemed impossible given the complexity of the subway system and the typical challenges of urban transportation. For 6 consecutive months, Sarah's Line 7 had maintained 99.7% on-time performance, 0 safety incidents, and customer satisfaction scores that exceeded every other route in the entire metro system. The performance improvements coincided exactly with Sarah's assignment to the line. Metro officials began investigating Sarah's operational methods to understand how she had achieved transportation excellence that could potentially be applied to other routes throughout the system. "Sarah," said Metro Operations Director Patricia Chin during a meeting requested by Transit Authority leadership, "your performance statistics are remarkable. We'd like to understand your operational procedures so we can share effective techniques with other operators." Sarah was initially reluctant to discuss her methods in detail, preferring to focus on results rather than procedures. "Mrs. Chin, I just try to follow schedules carefully and prioritize passenger safety." But Patricia Chin, who had experience with transportation systems analysis, recognized that Sarah's performance suggested training and methodologies beyond typical operator education. "Sarah, your precision timing and system efficiency indicate advanced training in navigation and operational planning. What's your background before joining Metro?" The conversation that followed revealed Sarah's Air Force experience and her reasons for choosing subway operation over careers that would more obviously use her pilot expertise. "Mrs. Chin, I spent 12 years as an Air Force F-16 pilot conducting combat and training missions. I retired and chose public transportation because I wanted to use navigation and precision skills to help people in my community rather than continue with military aviation." Patricia Chin understood immediately why Sarah's subway operation had been so precise and reliable. "Captain Mitchell, F-16 pilot training is among the most demanding navigation and systems management education available. Your aviation skills explain your exceptional performance." The Metro investigation that Sarah's performance had initiated led to her developing training programs for other subway operators, sharing aviation-based techniques for precision timing, safety protocols, and emergency response that could improve transportation efficiency throughout the system. "Sarah," said Metro Training Director James Park during a meeting the following week, "your aviation-based operational methods could revolutionize how we train subway operators. Would you consider developing training curricula that teach aviation principles adapted for subway operation?" Sarah was initially hesitant to take on responsibilities that reminded her of military aviation, but the training development position offered a compromise between using her expertise and maintaining the peaceful transportation work that had been essential for her transition from Air Force service. "Mr. Park, I chose subway operations specifically to step away from complex aviation procedures." "Sarah, this wouldn't be military aviation. We need someone to develop transportation training that applies aviation safety and precision principles to subway operation, improving service for millions of daily passengers." Sarah accepted the position as Metro Training Specialist while continuing her Line 7 operations. The combination allowed her to use her F-16 pilot expertise to improve subway transportation while maintaining the direct passenger service that provided meaning and satisfaction. Sarah's training programs for Metro operators emphasized practical aviation principles adapted for subway operation, systematic pre-operational checks, continuous systems monitoring, and emergency response procedures that enhanced both safety and efficiency for urban transportation. "The goal," Sarah explained to Metro operators during one of her training sessions, "is applying aviation-level precision to subway operation without creating complexity that interferes with passenger service." Good aviation principles enhance transportation reliability. Sarah's work with metro training led to her developing protocols that were adopted by transportation authorities throughout the Northeast, improving subway performance and safety for millions of urban commuters. 6 months after the performance investigation, Sarah received recognition from both the American Public Transportation Association and the Air Force Association for developing transportation training programs that applied aviation expertise to civilian transit systems. But the recognition that meant the most to Sarah came from Line 7 passengers who depended on reliable subway service for their daily transportation needs. "Sarah," said regular commuter Dr. Lisa Martinez, who rode Line 7 to her hospital job every morning, "I don't know how you do it, but your train is always exactly on time. It makes getting to work much less stressful." Dr. Martinez, reliable transportation helps people focus on their important work rather than worrying about schedule delays. That's what public transit should provide. Sarah realized that Dr. Martinez's comment reflected exactly the kind of meaningful work she had hoped to find after leaving military service, using her precision skills to serve her community while enabling other people to accomplish their professional and personal goals. A year after the Metro investigation that revealed her background, Sarah had become the region's leading expert in aviation-based transportation training and was regularly invited to speak at transit industry conferences and aviation transition events about applying military precision to civilian transportation systems. Her presentation at the International Association of Public Transport Conference focused on the principle that had guided her approach to subway operation. Aviation training provides systematic approaches to precision and safety that can dramatically improve public transportation when adapted appropriately for civilian transit systems. 2 years after transforming Line 7 performance, Sarah continued working as train operator while also serving as metro training specialist and consultant for transportation authorities throughout the country. Her story was featured in Air Force publications as an example of how aviation skills could be applied to civilian transportation, inspiring other military pilots to consider careers that used their expertise to benefit public transportation and community service. Today, Sarah Mitchell continues working as Line 7 train operator while also directing metro training programs and consulting with transportation authorities throughout the Northeast. She still arrives every morning at 5:30 a.m., still operates subway trains with precision timing that serves thousands of daily commuters, and still treats public transportation as a serious professional responsibility. But she also develops training protocols that improve subway safety and efficiency, teaches operators aviation-based precision techniques, and coordinates with transportation agencies to ensure that urban transit systems provide reliable service for communities that depend on public transportation. The Line 7 operator cabin where Sarah works displays a small plaque that reads, "In appreciation of service that connects our community with precision and reliability." Sarah requested that the recognition honor public transportation rather than individual achievement. Sarah's story reminds us that military aviation expertise doesn't diminish when applied to civilian transportation, it enhances. That F-16 pilot training can improve subway operations just as effectively as it supports military missions. That the same navigation precision used for combat flying can be used to provide reliable transportation for millions of commuters who depend on public transit. The next time you ride a subway train, remember Sarah Mitchell. Remember that the operator providing your transportation might have aviation experience gained in aircraft and missions you can't imagine. Remember that they might have chosen public transportation not because they lack other qualifications, but because they've found meaningful ways to apply extraordinary skills to serve their community with the precision and reliability that urban transportation requires. Sometimes the most important flying happens not in military aircraft or combat missions, but in subway tunnels where former fighter pilots choose to use their expertise to provide reliable transportation for families, workers, and students who need dependable public transit to accomplish their daily goals. Sometimes the greatest aviation precision belongs to people operating trains rather than flying jets, people who've chosen to apply pilot training to civilian transportation, ensuring that the skills developed for military aviation can be used to enhance public transportation and community connectivity. We need to recognize and appreciate the skilled aviation professionals among us who've chosen to serve quietly, especially those whose previous service required flying in dangerous situations so that civilians could travel safely and reliably in their own communities. Because true aviation expertise doesn't disappear when flight suits come off, it just finds new applications. And sometimes the most valuable pilot training involves not military missions or combat operations, but civilian transportation that ensures the systematic precision developed for Air Force flying can be used to provide dependable public transit for everyone who needs reliable transportation to work, school, and family obligations.